number 3. Write the equation of a line parallel to 2x minus 2y equals 3 and passes through point 7.4. Go back to the beginning. Write the equation of a line. Okay, this is the best thing that they could possibly tell you in a question. Because every time I see write the equation of a line, write the equation of a line, write the equation of a line, anytime I see that, I go through the same process that I'm going to walk you through. So write the equation of a line. Now what they're looking for as an answer is something that looks like this. Y equals mx plus b. They didn't specify how you present the equation of a line, but I like to always do it in slope-intercept form, in y equals form. Now to write that equation, you only need 2 things. You need to know the slope of your line, and you need to know the y-intercept. Now, let's take a look at what they provided us with so we can talk about how we're going to get the slope and how we're going to get the b, the y-intercept. Okay, so it says write the equation of a line that is parallel. That parallel thing tells you same slope. So write the equation of a line that has the same slope as this equation, 2x minus 2y equals 3, and your equation, your line, should also pass the point 7.4. Now, let's talk. First thing that I want you to notice is that if they're giving you a line that they want you to write something parallel or perpendicular to, you better put that line in y equals form, because otherwise you don't know what the slope is. It's all jumbled in there. So first thing I'm going to do before we talk more is I'm going to put 2x minus 2y equals 3 in y equals form so that I can tell what the slope is. Okay, first thing I'm going to do to get y by itself is I'm going to subtract the 2x from both sides, just like we did in the last problem. Now I'm bringing down the negative 2y equals negative 2x plus 3, because you can't combine them. They're not like terms. Okay, almost done. Now to get y by itself, I have to divide everything by negative 2. This will cancel. So now I have y equals, looking at my numbers here, negative 2 divided by negative 2. The negatives cancel. 2 divided by 2 is just 1. So it's like 1x, or just x. And then positive 3 divided by negative 2, different signs, so it's negative 3 over 2. Now I really do not care what the b is for this line. I don't care. That's their line. The only thing I care about is the slope. The slope is the invisible 1 coefficient to the x. So the slope of this line is 1, meaning the slope of my line should be the same thing. It should also be 1. That's why we care about the equation, only to get the slope. That's it. So let's talk about this graphic organizer I have on the right here. Whenever I want to set up an equation or find the equation of a line, solve for the equation of a line, I always set up this graphic organizer. All right, y equals mx plus b, space for the slope, space for a point, and then I know I have to solve for b. It's something I call money pays bills. M, money, the point, P, pays, and B stands for bills. So it's money pays bills. That's kind of how I remember it in my head. So anytime I see find the equation of a line, I'm doing a money pays bills problem. Now what does that look like? That tells me that I need to know M, the slope of my line, which we already figured out. We said it needs to be parallel. That's a symbol for parallel. So if it's parallel, it needs to be the same slope as the equation they gave me, which we figured out is just 1. I need a point on my line. Let's go back to the question. My line, it said it has to pass through 7.4. So I'm going to put 7.4 in this space. And then in order for me to actually figure out the final answer, I need to solve for b. So this line here tells me solve for the b value. Now, how do we solve for it? Well, all we have to do is plug in your slope and plug in this 0.74, because this is an x value and this is a y value. Looking at your y equals mx plus b, if I plug in a y value, a slope, and an x value, the only thing I'm left with as a variable is b, so I could solve for it. So let's go ahead and we're going to plug everything in and we're going to solve for b. So zooming in on this, here we go. I have my y value is 4 equals, my slope is 1, my x value is 7, plus b, because that's what I need to solve for. I don't know what my y-intercept is. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. 4 equals 1 times 7 is just 7, plus b. Okay, we want to get b by itself, so we're going to subtract 7 from both sides. These cancel on the right. 4 minus 7, I'm going to get a negative number because 7 is a larger number than 4. So I'm going to get negative 3 equals b. That goes right into here to finish out my graphic organizer. And now I'm ready to state my final answer. So when I state my final answer, I'm going to say it's y equals, I plug in my m, my slope, which is just 1, keep the x as a placeholder, and then my b value is the negative 3. I'm going to rewrite this one more time because we don't need to put that 1 in front of the x. So this is going to get rewritten to say y equals x minus 3. And we're done. Number 4. Write the equation of a line. Oh, we just talked about what to do when we see write the equation of a line. But let's continue. Write the equation of a line perpendicular to negative 6y minus 4x equals 18 and passes through 2, 6. Okay, always like to read the question the first time and then go back and try to figure out what's important in that question. So let's start from the beginning. Write the equation of a line. That is the heart of the question. That's the ask. That's what they're asking you to do. Write the equation of a line. Your answer needs to be y equals mx plus b. Now, they want the equation of a line that is perpendicular. So when I see perpendicular, I'm thinking opposite reciprocal slopes, perpendicular. And it needs to be perpendicular to this equation. Negative 6y minus 4x equals 18. And it passes through the point 2, 6. So remember, this line, negative 6y minus 4x equals 18, that is not our line. Our line needs to be perpendicular to that. So let's get ready. In order for me to figure out what would be perpendicular to negative 6y minus 4x equals 18, I first have to figure out what is the slope of this negative 6y line. In order to figure out the slope, it needs to be in a different format. I have to put this into y equals format. Otherwise, I don't know what the slope is. Let's go ahead and do that. Negative 6y minus 4x equals 18. We need to get y all by itself. So let's start by getting rid of that negative 4x. So we're going to add 4x to both sides. Now we have negative 6y equals 4x plus 18. Now we need to get rid of that negative 6. So divide every term by negative 6 to get y by itself. These cancel. So now I have y equals 4 divided by negative 6. Well, 4 is positive, 6 is negative, so I'm going to get a negative number, negative 4 over 6. Just take a look at the numbers. X, and again, 1 positive, 1 negative, so it's going to be a negative 18 over 6. 18 divided by 6 is 3. Now, take a look at the slope. negative 4 over 6. That is not your final slope. Remember that slope always has to be in simplest form. So I'm going to take the negative 4 over 6 and I'm going to simplify it. I'm going to look for the greatest common factor, the GCF. Both of them can be divided by 2 because they're even numbers. So I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 2. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So negative 2 over 3 is the slope of the line they provided. Now, you want a perpendicular line, so you should not have the same slope. Perpendicular lines do not have the same slope. They have opposite reciprocal slopes. So I'm going to take that negative 2/3 and I'm going to get the perpendicular slope. Remember, that's the perpendicular symbol. I'm going to rewrite it one more time. This is the perpendicular symbol. So opposite reciprocal means switch the sign from negative to now positive and flip your fraction. So flip the top and bottom. So positive 3 over 2 is a perpendicular slope. Okay? So now we're ready to do the graphic organizer and get to our final answer, which is the equation of a line. If we recall from the last question, that's what your graphic organizer looks like. I like to set it up myself every single time I do a problem. So here we go. Y equals mx plus b is my goal. That's what I'm going to be plugging into. I need the slope, money. I need a point, pays. And then I need to solve for b, bills. All right. Now, we have our slope. It needs to be perpendicular. So our slope was a positive 3 over 2. Let me check to make sure that's what we came up with. Yep, positive 3 over 2. Next, we need a point on our line. Well, let's see where it passes through. So our line should pass through 2, 6, meaning 2, 6 is our point that's on our line. Okay, put that in. 2, 6. Now we solve for b. They don't give us b. We have to solve for it. That's why we see this line here. Solve for b. All right, we're going to plug everything in. So our y value is right here. It's the 6 equals our slope is the 3 over 2. Our x value is the 2 plus b. All right, let's go. 6 equals 3 over 2 times 2. Let me walk you through that real quick. 3 over 2 times 2. Put the 2 over 1 so that you can multiply fractions. They both need to be fractions, so you can multiply across. 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So here we have 3 once we've done this multiplication. Plus b. Now we need to get b, so we need to get rid of that 3. Subtract 3 from both sides. 6 minus 3 is 3. And that leaves you with b. Bring that into your graphic organizer. Now we have solved for b, so we're ready to state our final answer. Our final answer needs to be in y equals mx plus b format. So our final answer is going to be y equals, our slope we figured out is 3 over 2, x, and now our b value, our y-intercept, is positive 3. And we're done. So as a recap to this question, writing the equation of a line means I'm doing money pays bills. I'm setting up this graphic organizer. M, a point, solve for b. And I'm writing the equation of a line perpendicular, so I need to make sure I have an opposite reciprocal slope. Opposite reciprocal to whatever equation they give you. And your equation, regardless of how they present it, you need to put it into y equals form so you can figure out the slope which then allows you to figure out your slope. That's perpendicular. Once you have the slope and you know the point that you're going to have on your line, you can plug everything in to your Money Pays Bills graphic organizer, and you're going to solve for B. Once you have B, you're ready to state your final answer. Okay, let's do the next question. I'm going to clear off some space. Okay, number 5. Identify if the following two lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Okay, so we're identifying the relationship between the two lines. So that's all we're doing. Identify if the two lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Let's talk real quick. If the lines are parallel, that means the slopes are the same. M equals M. If the lines are perpendicular, that means they're opposite reciprocal slopes. So M equals -1 over M. And if they're neither, that means, well, anything else. Any other combination. If they're not the same and they're not opposite reciprocals, then they're neither. Okay. Now let's go back to the two lines. Notice line R, 2x minus 8y equals 16, is not in y equals form. And line O, 4y equals x minus 9, is also not in y equals form. So before you can ever make a determination if they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither, you have to get things in y equals form. Have to. All right, let's take a look. Start with line R, and our goal is to put into y equals form so we can determine if they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So I'm going to start by subtracting 2x from both sides. Those cancel. Now we have -8y equals -2x plus 16. Now we need to get y by itself, so divide every term by -8. We've done this many times already today. Now we have y equals, take a look at the numbers, -2 divided by -8. The negatives cancel, so you're going to get a positive. 2 over 8. You should also be thinking how that's not in simplest form, but let's keep going. X, and then we have a positive and a negative, so that's negative. 16 over 8, 2. Now remember, we do this section here really just for ourselves because that has nothing to do with whether or not lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. The y-intercept has nothing to do with that. It's all about the slope. So really, we only care about what's happening here. That's it. All right, now 2 over 8. We need to simplify that. 2 over 8, since both are even numbers, can be divided by 2. Divide the top by 2. Divide the bottom by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So 1/4 is the slope. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at line O and see what the slope comes out to be there. Now, we have y almost by itself, so we just need to divide everything by 4 so that y can be by itself. This will cancel. Now we have y equals, all right, x over 4. Remember, there's an invisible 1 in front of the x. So really, you're dividing this positive 1 coefficient by 4. So 1 over 4. And then we're going to have the x along for the ride. And remember, even though I don't have to do this, might as well. Good practice. Minus 9 over 4. Okay, we only care about the slope. The slope is 1/4. So bring that down and let's compare. 1/4 can't be simplified any further. Both of these slopes are 1/4. If the slopes are the same, what does that mean? That means lines are parallel. Same slope, parallel. They're going to look like this on a graph, side by side. Crossing at two different spots on the y-axis, but side by side, never touching. So, same slope, answer is parallel. Now remember, you had to simplify the slope here, the 2 over 8, in order for you to realize that they're both 1 over 4 slopes. So make sure that you always look at your slope and check to see if you can simplify it. Okay, so let's go on to another video. I'm going to pause here.